Okay, pre-advising week. Some of y'all have advisors that y'all can actually communicate with, and they put their schedules on Starfish. They should be putting their schedules on Starfish, but we still have some T-Rexes that do the piece of paper on the office door. So if you're my advisee, you go to Starfish and fill out an appointment. Okay. What is pre-advising? Pre-advising is when you get a jump on your classes for next semester. You get unlocked, and as soon as the register date, you get to register early. Therefore, you don't have any full classes to have to try to schedule around. So the first thing you do is go to Starfish. And what do you do when you go to Starfish? Is there a thing that's...
It pops up. It should pop up.
Okay.
And you click on her.
Okay. He said that when you go to Starfish, it'll pull up the advisor's name and say, you know, you need to go by and pre-advise. And mine, just giving you an example, my appointments are all on Friday, since we don't have classes on Friday, and that's where we were talking about temper tantrums of Pendleton campus. I think you don't have class on Friday. Pissed me off so bad. But anyway, I'm not gonna worry about it. Anybody got any questions about pre-advising? Okay. Now, what's the content? What's the outline say we go to next? Outline say. Chapter what?
3.1.
Okay, is it all chapter 3 or half 3 and 4? Okay, 3 and 4. Let's see that for a second, please. 3 and 4. Oh yeah. Quadratics, 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 quadratics. Okay, piecewise. Okay. Now we're getting into the college algebra stuff. Getting into the good stuff now. So what'd you say? 3 and 4. So 3. Let me just go here and go down here. 3. I have no idea what this book looks like. So we'll just go here first. 3.1. Talking about quadratic functions. Now, what is a quadratic function? Well, a quadratic function is a different family of graphs. And did we cover the family of graphs or parent graphs? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you've got quadratics, and quadratics are basically x to the even power. Okay? And that's what you focus on. And the reason you focus on those is because a lot of functions represent, or a lot of things in real life can be represented by the parabolic function. Okay? The 3 type functions that you're going to see a lot of in, what is that noise that I keep hearing? Sounds like a dog barking. Okay. Sorry. The logarithmic function, the exponential function, and the parabolic function. Those are the 3 most applicable when in the first quadrant. Those are the 3 most applicable. And that's why a lot of algebraic or algebra courses focus around the quadratic, the logarithmic, and the exponential. So we're going to start with the quadratic, and then we'll move on into the others, okay? So, right quick, let's go ahead and, of course, that's what a quadratic function looks like. You can write it down if you don't remember it, but most of you probably remember it because you've been taught the quadratic function since the 8th and 9th grade. So that is the basic model of a quadratic function, ax squared plus bx plus c. And we've talked about it. We've talked about the vertex. We've talked about it being opening upward, opening downward. We've talked about that. Increasing and decreasing values. We talked about the airplane, right? We talked about the airplane?
Yes.
Okay. So we've talked about that here. Now, they are going from a quadratic formula point of view here. Okay? The quadratic formula I do not use, because the only time you use quadratic formula is when you're dealing with a function that looks like this. 2.21 x squared plus 3.56x plus 2.7. That's when you use a quadratic formula. So I don't know if you had a teacher that drilled the quadratic formula in your head. The only reason they did that is because they didn't want to teach you completing the square. Okay? And if you had a teacher that taught you completing the square, then good. That's a good thing. Because completing the square is the best way to find the x-intercepts and the vertex without having to go through pulling hen's teeth, going through different formulas, and it's basic math. So that's why we do the completing the square. The other ways to find the x-intercepts, but you can't find the vertex, is the reverse FOIL as well as factoring. Okay? Shortcuts. But that only gives you the x-intercepts on the parabola. To find the vertex, you have to use quadratic formula. Capiche? Now, that's what the brown box is basically telling you. Okay? It's telling you to find the vertex, you have to use either the quadratic formula or the completing the square. We're going to do 100% completing the square, and I'm not worried about you knowing the quadratic formula because I know you were beat on the head with it for 2 or 3 years in high school. Okay? So we're going to move on. Find the vertex of the graph. Okay, before we start with this one, have we done completing the square at all in here?
Yes.
Yes, I thought we did. How far did we get? Did we do 2 or 3 examples, or did we do 10 examples? Anybody look in your notes and see?
Like 2 or 3.
2 or 3? Okay. Well, I want to go over the ones that we probably went over, because there's about 7 different degrees of difficulty with completing the square. And what I'll do now is I'm just going to shut this down, and we're going to go to the whiteboard, and I'm going to try to redo what we did the other day, or not the other day, at the beginning. And we're just going to go to the whiteboard, and I'm just going to start over, and that way everybody will be on the same sheet of music. All right. So the first type is, a difficulty of 1 or 2, and it's very simple, and that's going to be x squared plus 4x plus 4 is equal to 0. Okay, with this function right here, the x is equal to 1. The a is equal to 1 right here, so you don't have to do anything. You just move c. X squared plus 4x plus blank is equal to -4 plus blank. And when you move c, you add the blanks. Okay? Well, y'all remember this from when we went over it before. And then the most important part of completing the square is 4 divided by 2 and squaring. Or b divided by 2 squaring. And that's the most important. So you need to take a highlighter and you need to highlight this right here, because if you don't do that, you're not completing the square. Okay? So, and what is 4 divided by 2 squared? 4. And that goes there and there. And you have just completed the square. Now what that does is that gives you, on the left-hand side, it gives you the shortcut number 1 or shortcut number 2. In this case, it's shortcut number 1, which will give you x plus 2 quantity squared is equal to 0. At this point, you can find the vertex. What is that noise that I keep hearing? Do y'all hear it, or is it just me?
I don't hear it.
Okay. I think it's an echo of me.
Yeah, maybe.
All right, at this point, you hit the vertex. All right, the vertex, I'll draw an arrow to the right. And over here, I'm going to say solve for x. All right, there's two directions here that you're going to take. You're going to take both of them. With the vertex, you take the opposite of both numbers. Okay? So that's going to be a -2 and a 0, because there is no negative of 0. So if that was a 5, then this would be -5. If this was a -4, then that would be a 4. You take the opposite of both. Now, remember, I don't know if I told you this or not, but you can also write this right here in the general form. That's driving me bananas. Y'all hear it, don't you?
Yeah, I hear it's your echo.
Okay, who said somebody at the Oconee? I think it's coming from Oconee. Can you turn the volume down a little bit, either by the remote or on the keyboard? There's a at the top of the keyboard. There's a speaker minus. If you could just turn it down just a little bit, okay? All right. Things like that get on my nerves. I'm sorry. And what you do is you write f of x is equal to x plus 2 quantity squared minus 0. Okay, you bring the 0 back over. Now, I'm going to put this in green because you need to be aware that sometimes the book or the homework or the test may ask for that. That's called intercept or general form. Now, when you get it in intercept and general form, you take the opposite of the 2, which would be -2, and then you need to write this down because you're going to get confused. You take the opposite, just like you did over here, that'd be a -2, and then you just bring this down. Now, it's not good right here, but you'll see it here, just 0, okay? And you get the same thing as you got right there. You'll see it better when that's not a 0. You'll see what I'm talking about because I'm gonna write it both ways so that y'all get the hang of it, because sometimes your homework will ask you for either general form or intercept form, and you have to write it in that way in the green highlight right there. Okay, now we're going to solve for x. X plus 2 quantity squared is equal to 0. Take the square root of both sides, and x plus 2 is equal to positive or negative 0, but there is no positive or negative 0, so it's just 0. And then minus 2, so x is equal to -2. Okay, y'all just going to have to believe me. It won't write down at the bottom. X is equal to -2. Now, look at that. There's only one number there. When you've got one number there, that means the x-intercept and the vertex are the same. Okay? There's only one number there. Usually you have 2, a positive and a negative, or 2 negatives or 2 positives. Most of the time there's 2 numbers there. Okay, that's called the radicand, or it's called the discriminant, and we'll get to that later when we get to a more complicated problem. So, let's highlight what we have to plot the points in aqua. What's that called right there? I heard y-intercept. Thank you. 2 people said y-intercept, so write that down. That's the y-intercept. Right? What else do we have in aqua? Well, we have the vertex. Vertex is right here. And we have the x-intercept. So now you can draw the graph. No, not draw the graph, but sketch the graph. Why do I say sketch? it's not going to be exact. So you don't have to worry about taking the square root of something to the 5th digit, okay? All you need is a guesstimation. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's your y-intercept. -2 is your x-intercept. And -2 is also your vertex. So it looks like that. And now you can say, okay, my domain is all real numbers. My range is from 0 to infinity. My decreasing is from -infinity to -2. My increasing is from -2 to infinity. And that's what you should be able to say about these functions. Your test on unit 2 will be 80% completing the square. You can write that down because they will hammer it and hammer it and hammer it. Because when you get to first semester calculus, whether it's business or whether it's engineering calculus, you have to be manipulating algebraic problems without any hesitation whatsoever. Okay? Anybody got a question on that? And like I say, on a scale of 1 to 10, this is about a 1. So we're going to bump it up 1. Let's go with, and I know I'm going over stuff, but I like to start, everybody on the same sheet of music. So just chill out. Here we go. This is like the number 2. X squared plus 3x minus 7 is equal to 0. Or number 2 or number 3. So move C. Go from there. I think I have decided that this weekend I'm not even going to turn on college football. I think I'm just going to watch movies all weekend and, that's it. I'm not even going to watch them.
Watch the Kentucky Texas A&M game.
I hope Kentucky wins, but I also hope Texas A&M wins. So that's kind of a toss-up with me. I think Texas A&M will win because I think Jimbo will out-coach the other coach.
Is it at Texas?
I don't know.
Yeah, they got to get the A&M.
I think that'll be a coaching victory versus a.
It's at the 12th man, bro.
It's going to be rough for Kentucky.
Hey, if Clemson can do it, Kentucky can do it.
No, let's say Clemson barely did. Okay? And then, what did Alabama do to Texas A&M the next couple of weeks? They whipped them. So we're not going to talk about Alabama and Clemson, okay?
Hey, Ohio State may beat Alabama this year.
Yeah, right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the check's in the mail, and it's only a fever blister.
They said he can't hit a broadside of the barn. Best friend, please.
X squared plus 3x plus blank is equal to 7 plus blank. 3 divided by 2 is what? 3 halves. 3 halves squared is what? 9 fourths, Hubert.
9 fourths.
Okay, finish it. Why do we use fractions? Because fractions are easier. Because you wasn't taught fractions very well doesn't mean they're not easy. You kind of sticking on this right now is probably because you wasn't taught. Or you were taught, but you didn't listen. What does that 7 turn to?
Big force.
Good job. I'm impressed. You got your money's worth. So 28 plus 9 is what? Dang old 37 force?
Yep.
Oh, we can't take the square root of 37. We can take the square root of 36, but we can't take the square root of 37. Square root of 36 is 6, but heaven forbid, square root of 37 is 6.1. Anyway, so we're going to take the square root, and we're going to sit there and stare at it. X plus, because we don't have any common sense, is equal to positive or negative 6.1 over 2. And I skipped the vertex. The vertex is, I'm going to write it down here because I'm going to take the negative 3/2 and then the negative 37/4. There's our vertex. I'm going to rewrite it as the general form, f of x is equal to x plus 3/2 quantity squared minus 37/4. So we take the opposite of this and we bring this down. And it's the same thing. Okay? So there's your vertex. You got your y-intercept right here. And now our x-intercepts. X is equal to positive or negative 6.1 minus 3 over 2. And all you got to do is think of money. If I owe somebody, if I have $6.10 in my pocket and I give somebody $3, then I have $3.10. Half of $3.10 is $1.80, or what is it?
$1.55.
$1.55. Okay? So that's going to be 1.55. And then if I owe somebody $6 and I owe somebody $3, I owe $9. Half of $9 is $4.50 plus whatever. It's what, $4.60? What does it come out to be? For what? No, it's $4.50. Be $4.55?
55.
Thank you. And that would be a negative. Now, sketch it and see if everything lines up. Because that's what you're sketching it for. You're sketching it to see if everything lines up. If you've done something wrong, is all 4 of those points going to line up correctly? No. And then that's when you say, okay, I've done something wrong. And then you just quit, throw your pencil down, and probably withdraw from school.
Hey.
When the tough gets going, what do?
Give up.
Quit. Good job. No, and you quit and you blame somebody else, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Blame the system.
You blame Russia. And don't forget, blame white women. Why do you blame white women? Because they do what their husbands tell them to do.
Yeah, it's not. They don't have their own opinions, man.
Yeah.
They vote the way their husband tells them.
Heaven forbid we free think, you know. Heaven forbid we think for ourselves. We do. We get fussed at and thrown off Saturday Night Live. All right. Don't do any research. Don't support any candidate. You're supposed to vote who the media tells you to vote for. All right. So -7 is down here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And we got 1.55. 1, 2, 1.55 is right in there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. -4.55 is right in there. And then our vertex is -1.5. And 4 will go into 37 9 times, 9 1/4. They're going to weigh the head down here. And doesn't that line up? Lord, it's a miracle. What movie does that come from? Shawshank.
Hey, I watched a good movie.
What
called
movie did you watch?
A Beautiful Mind. It's
Dang old tell you what, dang old
Russell Crowe.
dang old John Nash, old drawing all kinds of stuff.
John Nash, man. It took a twist right in the middle of the movie. I didn't.
Nutcase John Nash. They gonna think of people they gonna following him. They gonna almost killed his own baby. All right.
For the FBI.
This is a good movie, a dang good movie.
It is.
But that's where y'all are heading. Some of y'all that's going into marketing, business, economics. When you get in the second semester calculus, you're going to be finding the area under a curve, and you're going to be finding in the first quadrant, hopefully, because I don't. If you're finding the area under a curve in the other three quadrants, then you're going to suck as a business person. Okay, because they're negative. That means you're losing money. Okay, so you're going to study all that, and you're going to be doing all that. So, and that's why I spent so much time on the last chapter setting each other equal to zero, setting each other equal to each other, setting the lines equal to each other, setting the equations equal to each other, because you're going to be doing that. And there, domain, all real numbers. Range, -37 to infinity. Decreasing from negative infinity to negative 3/2, increasing from negative 3/2 to positive infinity. So that's the number 2 or 3. Why is it 2 or 3? Because I threw what in the mix? The Antichrist. Right? That's what y'all think. That's the dang old Antichrist right there. It sure was difficult. 3 over 2 squared is 9/4. That's some real hard math right there. And then changing 7 into 28/4. I'm surprised some of y'all didn't use a calculator for that. That's some real hard math. But think about it. I'm being facetious, but what is being done? Here is the new material. The new material is right here. But from here down, what is it? You go ahead and say it. Go ahead and say it. What is it? Is it thermodynamics? No. It's basic third, fourth level what? Math. So if you can't do completing the square, either you don't understand algebra or you don't understand third, fourth grade math. Or if you're having to sacrifice live animals to your calculator while you're doing this, then this is the first 2. Number 3, sacrifice live animals to your calculator, then go back to number 1 or number 2, because one of the 2 is happening. Okay, so let's do a nerd. Let's move it up to a 4 or 5. And for those of you who don't know what a nerd one is, that's another one. Another one. We'll do another one.
Another
one. Negative x squared plus 2x minus 7 is equal to 0. Now in this case, we can't do completing the square because we have a -1 in front of the x. Now this tells us, the negative a tells us that this parabola will be opening which way? Down. Okay? So we do know that, but we got to factor out the negative. But go ahead and move C first, because you're always going to move C and add your blanks first. I think this is where we left off probably with completing the square. Negative x squared plus 2x plus blank is equal to 7 plus blank. Now I'm going to take out that -1, and I'm going to say, okay, that's -1, and I'm going to write -1 so you can actually see it. You don't have to. You can just put a negative there. And that's going to leave us with x squared minus 2x plus blank is equal to -7 plus -1 times blank. Okay, so we're going to take our handy-dandy highlighter, and I don't highlight in red very much, but whatever you factor out, you have to multiply by the right side blank. Write that down. I'll go over here and say it. Whatever you factor out, multiply by right, multiply by right blank. And you can change that whatever right blank. Now we haven't completed the square yet. You can't complete the square until A is equal to positive 1. We'll write that at the top. You can't complete the square until A is equal to a positive 1. Now let's change that to a lowercase a. I don't like that. That's the area. There. AX squared plus BX plus C. A is equal to negative 1. You cannot complete the square if you have anything but a 1 in front of the X. If it's a 2, you got to factor it out first. If it's a negative 1, you got to factor it out first. If it's a negative 1/2, you got to factor it out first. So now we can complete the square. What is B? 2. 2 divided by 2 is what?
1.
1 squared is?
1.
That's some hard math right there, buddy. Let me tell you. I guarantee you there's somebody in here, meaning all 4 campuses, I guarantee you somebody has never seen this before and they've been through algebra. I guarantee somebody has. Because what happens is they want you to use what? The calculator. Well, the calculator is not applicable here, okay? Unless you do basic math with it, all right? You have to do several steps. And that's what they don't want to teach you. They don't want to teach you several steps. They want to teach you to rely on what? The calculator. That's why we have people that run cash registers that can't make change. If you don't believe me, go through a cash register and give somebody $20 for $9.56 and then give them 56 cents and watch your head explode. I do it all the time when I got cash. I try to. And if I do find somebody that sits there and blows up, their head blows up, I tell the manager that person shouldn't be running the cash register. They're not qualified. So if you're one of those people, please don't raise your hand and say, "Oh, he's talking about me." Okay? I don't know who in here knows how to run a cash register or not. I just know if you can't make change, if somebody gives you 56 cents and the bill is $9.56 and you give them $20.56, if you can't make that change in your head, you shouldn't be running a cash register. You should be pushing a mop or something in the store. That's what you should be doing. All right. Because somebody's going to end up with a daggum register, and I've never ran a register in daggum Walmart, but you come up short and too much and all this because you can't make change. All right, I'll shut up. Negative 1, x minus 1, quantity squared. Sorry, snowflakes. No, not everybody gets a trophy. 7 minus 1 is what?
Where's my participation?
6.
Participation.
Somebody need a prayer cry closet? Sorry. So I need a puppy.
I need a puppy. Oh, well.
Now, what's the vertex? The vertex is 1 comma what? Negative 6. Let's put it in f of x is equal to negative 1 times x minus 1 quantity squared minus 6. This is the general form, and that's only if you're asked to write it like that. You don't have to have the negative 1. You can just have a negative out front. But this is your vertex. So if you have it in general form, you take the opposite of the 1 and you just bring down the 6. If you get the vertex in this form, you take the opposite of both. And now we're going to solve. And we're going to take it to the next whiteboard. Well, I'm just going to make it because we got to talk about something else here. Now, when you get to this point, you're going to find out that there's no x-intercepts. Why is there no x-intercepts? because the next step you have to divide by what? -1. And that gives you x minus 1 quantity squared is equal to -6. And I tell you there's no x-intercepts. Why? Come on, pre-calculus people. Why is there no x-intercepts here? That's not rhetorical. I'm wanting y'all to interact with me.
Can't take the square root of a negative.
Good job. I'm very impressed. You cannot take the square root of negative. Dang old arrow. Dang old cannot take square root of a negative. Therefore, no solution, which that means Jack means no what? X-intercept. So you got a floater. You got a floater of a parabola. That parabola is sitting out in one of the quadrants, and it does not cross the what? The y-axis. I meant the x-axis. Now, this is called, when I put this radical right here, boop, boop, this -6 turns into what we call, anybody want to know? Anybody know? It starts with a D. I-S. Good, that's this. That's a good job. I'm very proud of y'all. You know.
Yeah. Turns into
Grim. Say what? Discriminant. I think that's it. I think it's with an E or an A. I can't remember. Anyway, discriminant. When I put that radical over that number, it becomes a discriminant. A discriminant tells you how many x-intercepts you got. I'm sorry, how many solutions you have. Okay? If it's a positive number, you have 2 x-intercepts. If it's a negative number, you have near. And if it's a 0, you have 1 x-intercept, and usually that x-intercept is also the what? The vertex. Okay? So, if you have a positive under the radical, it is 2 x-intercepts. If you have a negative, that means near or none. Okay? And then if you have a 0, that means 1 x-intercept, and it usually is the what? The vertex. So make sure you understand discriminant, because that is, believe it or not, that is a standardized test question. Okay? If you're going to be taking a standardized test, whether it be employment or GRE or whatever, that is always, they'll say, what does this discriminant tell you? And they'll have a square root over -8. And then it says no solution. No solution is the same thing as no x-intercepts. So, I need to finish it. How do I finish it? I finish it in terms of I. Okay? So that's what we're going to go over next. I'm going to throw that in here. And all you got to remember with I is the following. I, or square root of -1 is equal to I, and I squared is equal to -1. So you need to remember that. Dang old highlight. You need to remember that. The square root of -1 is equal to I, and I squared is equal to -1. And now all you have to do is just rewrite -6 in terms of I. So here we go. And this is kind of a review. This section over here on the right side is kind of a review. You should know how to do this, but I'm going to be nice to y'all and act like there's somebody that don't know how to do it, because I'm that type person. Square root of -1, square root of 6. Even though y'all are mean to me. -1 and -6. And what is the square root of -1? Hi, Hubert, you just told us that. That's right, class. So x minus 1 is equal to, hold on a minute. I kind of messed that up. There we go. Is equal to I times the square root of 6, and x is equal to I times the square root of 6 minus 1. Now, you can write this 5 or 10,000 different ways. I'm not going to sit here and tell you, well, you need to put the -1 first or I'm going to mark it wrong. It really doesn't matter. Okay, now you have some instructors and some books that swear you have to write it in terms of A plus BI. Okay, so let's make them happy. -1 plus square root of 6. Make sure you put a tag on that radical and then I.
Should that one be positive?
Yes, it should. Thank you very much. I suck. There we go. Whoever said that? Who said that? Good job, Easley Campus. Y'all on the ball. So that's about a number 3 or a number 4. You ready for 5 or 6?
Let's give
Let's go to 5 or 6. Oh, we got to, oh, I'm sorry. We got to sketch it. Let's sketch it right quick. Let's go down here. And what is our y-intercept? -7, Hubert. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And what is our vertex? 1 and -6. And which way is it going? Okay. Yeah, that's good. All right. So, what is our domain? Our domain is all real numbers. What is our range? (∞) to negative what? -6. Our increasing is from (∞) to 1. Sorry. Decreasing from 1 to infinity. Okay, let's do a number 4/5. I think that's what I said, or 5/6, the next level. I'll just say the next level. Don't y'all feel smart? Y'all learning all this stuff? Yeah. I'm gonna be easy on y'all, okay? -2x squared plus 4x minus 10 is equal to 0. All right, try that one and see how far you can get. If you can't get very far, just consider that a disappointment. And you're probably not cut out for this self-improvement thing. Miss Leonhardt, she Skypes in, and then 5 minutes after she Skypes in, she's gone. A student at the Oconee campus, I think.
I'm going. Got my name down.
What? What are y'all laughing about?
She probably logs on, gets the attendance, and then.
Yeah, well, I'll try to call her up one more time. Yeah, offline. I don't understand. I must have offended her with the prayer/cry closet.
I'm going to the department right now.
Going to the department.
Oconee campus, where's the other people over there?
One of them overslept, and the other one is just not here.
They're just not there? Okay.
Yeah. It's just me.
Just you.
And we got you.
So long. I know.
All right, I'll help you out. I'll do the first step.
Go ahead.
There. I'll help you out and do the first step there. Does that help y'all out?
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah. It helps you out,
Just a
don't it?
little bit.
Yeah, I always forget that. You gotta factor out. Or I'll factor out.
So factor out the 2. That's going to give us -2. X squared minus 2x plus blank is equal to 10 plus -2 times blank. And what's half of 2? Check it on your calculator.
1.
And 1 squared, check it on your calculator.
1.
I'm not
Good
sure.
job.
Calculator.
Don't be like my neighbor. I told you about her. This dang calculator doesn't work. I will raise 1 to the 85th power and it comes out to be 1. Okay. How do you tell your neighbor? X minus 1 quantity squared is equal to, hold on, I got this without a calculator, 8. I make these little comments. I'm not trying to insult your intelligence. I'm just trying to show you that completing the square is the one that should be taught all the time because it's basic what?
Math.
Basic math.
Hey, 3rd or 4th grade math.
So what is the vertex? The vertex is 1, comma, negative 8. General form, f of x is equal to negative 2 times x minus 1 quantity squared minus 8. Y-intercept is 0, negative 10. And now let's find the x-intercepts. Divide by negative 2. Oh, crap. That means no x-intercept. So we're going to have to write in terms of y. X minus 1 quantity squared is equal to negative 4. X minus 1 is equal to 4i or 2i. X is equal to 2i plus 1, which means no x-intercepts. All right, sketch it.
Sure.
1, negative 8. 0, negative 10. And which way is it opening?
Downward.
And it's going to be skinny because it's a 2, so it's going to be really skinnier than the other one, but you don't have to worry about that. The domain is all real numbers. The range is from negative infinity to negative 10. The increasing is from 0 or negative infinity to 0. Decreasing is from 0 to infinity. And that is a 5/6. All I have to do is change one number and it'll be a 6/7. What number do you think I'm going to change? B. I'm going to change it to a 5.
Dang old 5.
Dang old fraction. Dang old head explode. Change that to a 5. Well, I'm going to erase everything. I'm going to change that to a 5. And I'm also going to change that negative. So that way you'll get an x-intercept, and that way you have practice with the x-intercepts. Well, you're going to get plenty of practice with no x-intercepts and with x-intercepts, but I've already done 2 with no x-intercepts, so we're going to do plus 5x. Was this a negative 10 to make it a positive 10, or what was it? It was what?
It was negative.
All right, now, there you go.
This is a long story.
How many of y'all at the Pendleton campus are very fluent in completing the square? How about you, Easley?
Not fluent, but I understand the concept.
Understand it, but you're not fluent. That's normal. How about Oconee?
I understand it, but I'm not fluent.
Okay. That's usually the case. You got 3 years of algebra and they teach you how to use a calculator.
No one is good to answer right.
And then they wonder why we got people that can't do their checkbook don't know how to do their income taxes, and can't run a cash register. Keep them stupid. Easier to control. I'll do that first step for you. The things I do for y'all.
That's tremendous.
Somebody check that calculator, make sure I did that right, moving that 10 over. Factor out 2.
Not actually, 10 is non-existent.
Factor out 2, we get negative 2 x squared minus 5 halves x plus blank is equal to negative 10 plus negative 2 times blank. Now I'm gonna do this in several steps because I want to show you how easy it is to divide 5 halves by 2. Okay? So I'm gonna go down here and I'm gonna say, okay, 5 halves divided by 2 over 1.
It's 5 halves.
Okay? That's 2 over 1. If you can't tell, that's a dot right there. It's supposed to be dotted because all whole numbers are over 1. So, and I'm going to square that. And this is what really hard work right here. 5 halves multiplied. When you divide by a fraction, you multiply by the what? Reciprocal. 5/4. Wow, now we're doing some real hard math here. 5 squared is, oh gosh, I can't remember.
25, 6.
Yeah, and 4 squared I think is 16. That's some real hard math there. So, not hard. 25 over 16. 25 over 16. Well, it's going to be hard because we can't do that. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, I have this disorder, but I could sit down and play video games for 8 freaking hours, but I can't listen. Negative 2 times x minus 5/4 quantity squared is equal to, well, we just quit here, right? Well, this is 2, 16, that cancels to 8, so that'd be 80, negative 80 over 8 minus what? That cancels, be 25 over 8?
4. 25 over 4, right? Because if you cancel it.
No, the 2 cancels to 16. 2 will go into 16 how many times? 8.
8.
Last time I checked. And we're not worried about it because if we do something wrong, where will it show up? On the sketch. It'll show up because something's not going to line up right. So I'm not really worried about it. Let's just see what happens. So negative 2 times x minus 5/4 quantity squared is equal to, wow, that'd be negative 105 over 8. So our vertex is negative 5/4, comma 105 over 8. Our y-intercept is 10. And our general form, f of x, is equal to negative 2 times, that's supposed to be a negative 2, x minus 5/4 quantity squared plus 105 over 8. And of course, if you wanted the vertex here, you would say, okay, the opposite would be 5/4, and then I just bring this down, 105, 8. So it's the same as that. Now I'm going to solve. Oh gosh, no x-intercepts, right? Yes, we do have x-intercepts. Why? Somebody tell me why. That means I want y'all to think about it and talk back to me. Why are we going to have x-intercepts here? That's a negative right there at 105.8. I thought you said you can't take the square root of a negative.
I'm clueless.
Well, what do you, okay, I got to do this two different ways. What do you have to do first and what you got to do first? All right? For those of you that don't know the difference. All right? What do you have to do next to start the solving process? Do you take the square root first or do you divide by -2 first? Divide by -2, and what does that do to the -105? Makes it positive. So you can't just generalize and say, oh, that's a negative, no x-intercepts. You got a negative over here. So you have to take that into account. And you can sit there and stare at it for 15 minutes. Multiply by -1/2. And that's going to be -105 over what? Oh my gosh, look at that. A perfect square. Isn't that nice? 105, we can't do that. That's not 10.2 or anything. So we got x minus 5/4 quantity squared is equal to positive 105 over 16. Take the square root of both sides. X minus 5/4 is equal to 10.2 positive or negative over 4. X is equal to positive or negative 10.2 plus 5 over 4. So what's $10.20 plus $5? That's $15.20. What's half of $15? $7.50. So $7.50 plus 10 cents is $7.60. So one x-intercept is 7.6. -$10, you owe $10.20. You give them $5, you still owe them -$5.20. So half of 5, I did it 2. It's supposed to be 4. I'm sorry. My bad.
The money bank.
I'm sorry, I was dividing by 2, not 4. Or did I take the square root correctly? Yeah, I did. I was dividing, I'm sorry. Okay, so $10, that's $15 divided by 4. 4 will go into 15. 3 point something. What does it come out to be? You can use your calculator on that. 3 point what? I'm sorry, what? 3.8 is good enough for government work. All right, -10 would be -5.2. What's -5.2 divided by 4? 1.3. All right, sketch it. See if everything lines up. So, I don't have any room, so I'm just going to go over here and erase some of this. And 0, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And vertex is, the X-intercepts is negative 1.3 and positive 3.8. 3.8 be somewhere in there. Got us. Okay, it's going to be in the first quadrant. Okay, 5 force is 1 1/4. And then 105.8, 8 will go in there one time, leave 24. 16, somebody help me there. What is that?
105/8.
Yeah. I'm sorry, what?
13.25.
13.1, well, there's 10, 11, 12, 13, somewhere in there. Oh no, it points downward. Well, is that good? Yeah, it has a negative out front. So, all real numbers is your domain. Range is from negative infinity to 105/8. The increasing values is from negative infinity to 5 force, decreasing from 5 force to infinity. Y'all starting to get the hang of it? Good. Let's do one, discourage all of you. Let's do one that's about, what I say, that was a 6 or a 7. Let's do one that's a little bit more difficult. How about negative or 1/3 x to the second power
This right here.
minus or plus 5x plus 3 or minus 3 is equal to 0. Might try that one. At least I gave you a positive 1/3 instead of a negative 1/3, which that will be number 9/10. Negative fraction out front. So I figure hopefully this one or the next one will discourage you. Aren't y'all glad I'm looking out for y'all? Trying to save y'all some money. Yeah, you are, Hubert. Thanks a lot. You're welcome.
Appreciate it, man.
Yeah, you're welcome. Anytime I can discourage somebody. I do it to my kids every day. Daughter sent me her grades, and I'm like, it's only 3 weeks, but she sent me her grades on, and from the Clemson website or whatever, you can see your grades or whatever. And she said, so it's only 3 weeks. You still got time to fail. Thanks, Daddy. And my son, I'm trying to get him to learn how to drink beer. He's almost 12, and that way he won't be Supreme Court Justice. I hate to say that's funny. I mean, that's funny. Oh, and he can't throw ice either. I'm trying to teach him to throw ice. So he won't be Supreme Court Justice.
Can't throw ice.
I thought.
You know how many of us are already disqualified to be Supreme Court Justice? Because we threw ice or we drank beer?
Hey, man, I'm throwing ice. You got ice on one.
You can forget it, buddy. You're going to dig a ditch for the rest of your life. All right. I personally think there's about 7 or 8 people in the Democratic Party that have lost their freaking minds.
Oh, yeah. They gone.
I didn't say the whole Democratic, because I'm talking about the Pocahontas crowd. Pocahontas and Spartacus and whatever the other ones' names are. I think they've lost their mind. 1/3 x squared plus 5x plus blank is equal to 3 plus blank. Okay, I've done that much for you, so you can do the rest. Factor out the 1/3. That's going to be 1/3, and that's going to be x squared plus, well, let's see, 5 divided by 1/3 is 15x. Oh my gosh. Okay, now we're going to get a fraction, so you should quit after this next step.
34.
What?
I think we get 34ths because you have to square it.
Oh, you already done it?
I'm trying, but
Trying?
I'm going.
I'm
heading
faint.
that direction.
I feel faint. You're supposed to quit. 15
Oh, wow.
halves multiplied by 2 is 30 over what?
Oh.
You are exceptionally gifted.
Cream.
I'm like old John Nash.
Oh man, you'll start seeing people now. You're gonna start working for the Department of Defense.
Man, I'm on the job now. I'm cracking codes.
Yeah, you're not supposed to tell anybody though.
It's secret. I gotta go drop off envelopes.
Yeah, you gotta go drop off some papers. 1/3
Got Ed Harris yelling at me.
plus and wait a minute. No, not 30 over 4. No.
30 over 2.
No. 15 squared is not 30. 15 squared is 225. That's when everybody's supposed to say, yeah, that's what I had. That's what I thought it was. You ready? Everybody got 1, 3. Everybody say that. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, that's.
I had it, man. Hey,
Yeah,
even
there
though
you
I had it
go.
wrong.
And Bubba's supposed to be sitting on the back row going, yeah, man, I had that. You don't know what you're doing. He don't even know what freaking day it is. All right, x plus what? X plus 15 halves, quantity squared, is equal to, we've got to change this over here to 225. 3, and wait a minute, before we do that, that's going to be 225 over 12. So this is going to be 36 over 12. Plus 225 over 12. Check that right quick. Make sure I did all that right.
You know what's up now.
Now, stances. If you sit like this, you're really confident. If you sit like this, it's like
What are they talking about? Okay, if y'all going to interact, y'all got to interact with the other classes. Y'all can't be holding conversations between yourselves.
What happened to our camera?
So 1/3 x plus 15 halves quantity squared is equal to dang old 261 over 12. Somebody check me.
What is it?
36 plus 225.
Yeah.
So what's our vertex? Our vertex is negative 15 halves, comma, negative 261 over 12. And we've got y is equal to 1/3 times x plus 15 halves, quantity squared, minus 261 over 12. Our y-intercept is 0, negative 3. And now we're going to finish and divide by 1/3, multiply by 3 over 1, which that's going to take that to 4, and that's out. So that's 261 over 4. So that's going to be x plus 15 halves, quantity squared, is equal to 261 over 4. Take the square root of both sides. X plus 15 halves is equal to, the square root of 4 is 2. Hold on a second, let's do some, okay, so 225 is 15. 16 would be what? 16 would be 256. Somebody check that for me. What's the square root of 256?
16.
Okay, so I'm going to say 16.2. Somebody take the square root of 261. What's the square root of 261?
16.45.
Okay, I'm sorry. I was off 500. I'm sorry. So x is equal to positive or negative 16.2 minus 15 over 2. So what is 1.2 divided by 2? 60 cents. That's one x-intercept. Negative 15 and negative 16 is going to give you 31, right? So that's negative 31.2, which is going to be 13.6. Somebody check me. Negative 13.6. I did that in my head, so y'all need to check me.
Good. Next one.
Is it 15.6? I'm sorry. 15.6. All right, graph it and see if it works. If it doesn't, then we need to go back and check it. All right, so here we go. What's negative 15 over 2 is negative 7.5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Somewhere in there. And then I have no idea. What's 261 over 12? Negative 21.75 is way the heck down here. All right, then we have a y-intercept of negative 3 and a x-intercept of 0.6 and negative 15, which that's going to be way over here. So it's going to look something. Why is it so freaking wide? Why is it so wide? Because of the 1/3. That's right, class. All right, that's an 8, 9. We'll do 9 and 10 tomorrow, or whatever.
How high does it go? Hey, how high is the difference level going to get?
About 27.
I quit.
Maybe there you go. All right, y'all have a good weekend. Don't worry about doing any homework on this because we ain't finished yet. So y'all just worry about finishing up the other stuff. If you finished it, then don't worry about it. Have a good weekend.
You too.
See you later, man.
Y'all welcome.
Seen any movies this week?
I don't know what I'm going to watch. I might watch